The views and opinions expressed by the Loft Party podcast panel participants and guests do not necessarily reflect those of the Good Times of Good People company, the host, or its sponsors.
Just not getting it.
Welcome everybody out there in podcast land. The Good Times of Good People company proudly presents the Loft Party podcast, where it is always about good times, good people, and good talk. Now that you've received your invitation, the best way to let us know that you're in attendance is to download the party or become official by joining us on Facebook, subscribing on YouTube, iTunes Podcasts, or Google Play Podcasts. Good. Thanks for joining us. Grab a cocktail, light a cigar, or whatever you like to smoke. Share us with your friends, and make yourself at home. I'm your host and moderator, Rio, and let's introduce today's panel. Hey out there, podcast land. I am your host, Rio, and welcome to the Loft Party Podcast, episode 78. You open this door. I look at the policy changes between the Obama administration to the current Trump administration. But before we get started, let's introduce today's panel. And today we have our returning champion, Chris O'Connor. He's the owner of Liquid Night Entertainment and Investments, as well as having interest in J. Rieger Whiskey and Office Works. We've got Big Dave Elliott. He's the owner of C&P Construction. We have back by popular demand, Brian Massey. He is our market analyst for True Media and our resident brain mass. And of course, the anonymous female, because she doesn't want you to know her name. But before we get into important things, let's get into important things. And first, we want to know, what are we drinking? And today we're drinking a tried and true classic, the old fashioned. So, in a rocks glass, or old fashioned glass if you happen to be that fancy. You're going to do a cube of sugar. You're going to do a splash of club soda, some lemon peel. You're going to muddle that thoroughly and then add 2 dashes of Angostura bitters, 2 dashes of Pashad's bitters, and then 2 ounces of whiskey. You add ice, you stir thoroughly, and garnish with an orange zest, and you have the most classic of classic cocktails, the old fashioned.
You can also use rum.
You can do rum, yes you can.
The same thing and get a similar result with a darker rum.
You can do rum, and
it tastes just as bad.
Oh, come on, anonymous female.
I say
You're not drinking them enough.
Don't listen to her out there in podcast land. She is a hater of whiskeys.
I don't hate them.
But
I just don't have a taste for them.
okay.
Because
She hates them.
If I hated them, I wouldn't continue to try them.
No, this is true. She does try.
Okay.
She does try. And now that we know what we're drinking, I guess the question is, what are we smoking? And today we're smoking my particular favorite brand, an Arturo Fuente Don Carlos Eye of the Shark. You got 94 points on Cigar Aficionado, and it's a torpedo style box press. It's got some notes of cedar, leather, a little nutty flavors, and it does have some slight hints of some cider. It's actually it's kind of a medium to full cigar, and it is quite tasty out there. Dominican wrapper binder with a Dominican filler and binder with a Cameroon wrapper, and at 12.25-ish, not a bad smoke at all. So that is what we are drinking and what we are smoking. Once again, I looked for RIPs, and I didn't see anything that I thought at least anybody out there in podcast land would know directly. But does anybody at the table have an RIP they want to mention?
Well, I forgot one last week. My mother-in-law passed, 87 years old. A fine Sicilian woman who loved to cook for us and all about family and the family event. And and all those things. We're going out to celebrate Mass for this next weekend. I just wanted to tell her she's a fine woman, and I'm a lucky man to have her for a mother. I love her.
Yeah, and you and your family have our condolences, just so you know, if you didn't already. But as to not end on a down note, I found some birthdays that are happening today on Podcast Day. First, the anonymous female likes this guy, Ryan Reynolds. He's 41 today. If you don't know who Ryan Reynolds is, he is...
You like this guy.
Yeah, I do. I just want to say, if you don't know who that is, Ryan Reynolds has been in a bunch of stuff, but he is currently...
Most recently.
Deadpool.
The anonymous female, is this a man you find hot? I was wondering if it was that type of thing.
I mean, I think he's attractive. I don't know if he's in my top five.
No girl crush on it or anything?
No.
Well,
maybe
there's some hesitation.
Maybe at one time.
You see that, Rio?
No, I did. That's it.
Okay.
I did.
Like maybe at one time, but no, I've always, it's kind of funny because we joke about that a lot. Like, I liked Christian Bale long before anybody really knew who Christian Bale was. You know, everybody was like, oh, Christian Bale, Batman. I'm like, I knew Christian Bale from American Psycho, Christian Bale. Like,
right.
You know?
Yeah,
yeah,
he was my last boyfriend. That's why he was American Psycho.
But I don't know. I mean, I think he's attractive, but I guess I never really thought about.
I was just checking.
Yeah.
The Machinist.
Yes, the Machinist.
Yes. I turned Mario onto that movie. He thought I was nuts watching that until the end.
Yeah,
Was he attractive
was
in
like,
No, not at all.
He was quite unattractive.
Weighing like 92 pounds.
Yeah, there was a war movie that he was in too, where he became a prisoner of war and he lost a ton of weight
for it. Yeah.
between something and Batman. But then you look at him in Reign of Fire. Yeah, he was pretty attractive in that movie. But he was also, you could tell that, well, he and Matthew McConaughey both, like Matthew McConaughey was like all buffed out then.
Now you just hit on my wife's man there.
Matthew.
Oh yeah,
Mr.
Steve
Well, even
likes
like,
Matthew
you
McConaughey.
know,
All right.
Very
Mario
much.
actually likes to say
She would leave me for him in a
that
minute.
my one is The Rock, but I think maybe The Rock years ago, The Rock, not like massive mountain rock that we have now.
Yeah, like the
Like at some point-
rundown rock.
Yeah, at
Want
some
to pit a
point
pit
there's
on it and even tie a rope off and climb up, huh?
yeah, like at some point there's just too much.
Too much guy there. So for you sports fans out there, legendary soccer player Pele turned 77.
Probably one of the most famous soccer goals ever when he did the bicycle kick.
Yeah. For you music fans out there who are a little bit older, you will know this one. Weird Al Yankovic turned 58 today.
The king of the parody.
Yeah, and for all of our younger listeners out there, and just because I think this kid is super cute and adorable, DJ Khaled's son Aasad turned 1 year old today, and he is the cutest dude ever, and probably the most memed little person on the internet ever, because DJ Khaled made sure that he started making money from birth, and I think he even like had him down as the executive producer of his last album. So it was crazy, and he was literally just born like months old or whatever. Either way, those are the birthdays I found for today, and with all that, we'll be right back. Hey, you can search for the Loft Party Podcast on iTunes Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, and on our Good Times with Good People YouTube channel. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, tweet us on Twitter, and if you like the content we provide, donate to us on Patreon. www.patreon.com/Loft Party Podcast. You can find all of our links below. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. Okay, and we are back. And before we get too deep, let's play a quick party game. And so today on the party game, we've got 2 questions. So the first question is describe your outlook on life in 6 words. Normally I don't, but today I'm going to start with the anonymous female.
Why? Because I look prepared?
Because you look more prepared than you normally do, right? Normally you look terrified, like, come on. But today you look prepared. And what is your outlook on life in 6 words?
Mine is life happens whether ready or not.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That's the one I said today. I know when we originally talked about it, it was probably something completely different.
Yeah, well, it was 6 months ago or whatever. So, Chris?
I would say think big, act bigger, love biggest.
Aww.
That sounds good.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
That is awesome. That's awesome. See, there's help for him yet.
So big and thoughtful. Aww.
Big Dave?
After the shitty day I had today, it's the motto I live by all the time. Every day's a new day.
Okay.
Because tomorrow will be a new day. And I won't have to kill half the people I tried to kill today.
And Braymass.
Be humble. Outcomes are half chance.
Oh,
That's
Well
good.
done,
That's
Braymass.
good.
Well done.
really good.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. Mine, I use all the time. Good times with good people. Cheers.
There you go.
If I say,
Like that was real hot, huh?
yeah, if I say it was not difficult for me.
Well, I think when we first talked about it, I was like, you've already got yours.
Yeah. Okay, so the second question.
I did have one, but it went to 7 words.
Oh, okay.
What is
I
it?
saw God prefers kind atheists over hateful Christians.
We're going for the profound today. Ah.
Braymass is very profound today.
All right. So, the second question in our party game today is who were 2 role models you looked up to as a kid? And I will go back to Braymass and go around the table the other way.
2 role models I looked up to as a kid.
They can be real people or fictional people.
And I have to say my
That-
brother. Like, my brother was... he was always, he's 5 years older than I am. So that's kind of an easy answer just because it's far enough away, but it's still close enough. You're like, that's what I... And I think he knew that too, which was, I guess, kind of... At the time, it wasn't that great because he'd pick on me. But then eventually it got better, and so that was really cool. I got into football and went to college, and I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do, right? Another role model. I don't know. Some of the... You know what, we had... I can't remember his name, unfortunately. But we had a substitute teacher that would come in when I was in grade school every once in a while. And he always knew how to talk to the class really well. And I thought that was really, really cool how you could sit down and... Because, you get some teachers, some substitute teachers in there that just... It does not go well for anyone.
For
that's
anybody,
in the-
for anybody involved,
And
right?
somehow it was just like, he kind of seemed like a friend to the class, but also had authority, and it just kind of, I was like, someone who can figure that out almost immediately, where everyone trusts him and everything, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
So I always tried to figure out how that worked, but yeah.
That's a skill. That's a
Yeah.
real skill.
He was retired, which is why he was a substitute, I'm sure.
Gotcha.
I'm sure he was a teacher at some point, but he was good at it.
Big Dave?
Maynard Elliott and Paul Brady were my grandfathers. And they both lived in the same town. Maynard was a townie and Paul was a farmer.
All right.
Both of them entrepreneurs. And I got a lot of my entrepreneuring spirit from them. I certainly got a lot of my work ethic from them. And on the farm, I was 6 years old, I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go collect turkey eggs. Grandpa Maynard owned a bunch of duplexes, and he had me out there doing repairs and fix-its and painting and doing all kinds of things with him on, on Saturdays. Not necessarily in the summer so much, some in the summer, but definitely year round. Because I lived in the same neighborhood they did, so I'd ride my bike up there and he'd put me to work. But they were just, good, solid, of the earth people. And they both came up through the Depression. And there was something about the folks that came through the Depression that made them a little bit special, because they went through a harder time than any of us would ever dream about going through. And they found ways to survive. And as everybody on this panel knows, I am a survivor. And they were a great influence to me.
Awesome. Chris?
Slightly more superficial than that. I went, as a kid, Roger Staubach, for sure.
Okay.
Loved him.
I should have known at least one of them was going to be football.
Oh my God, I would just sit there and draw neighborhood plays all day long instead of doing schoolwork. And then as I got a little older, it would have been Michael Stipe from R.E.M. Just seemed to. There's always some musician out there who you think finds the voice in the things you want to say when you have weird teen angst and shit like that. He was always that dude.
Weird teenage angst.
Everybody has it one way or another.
I don't know why teens are so angsty, but it's true.
Because they don't. It's too many emotions. They don't know how to deal with those.
Yeah, it's very true. And I'm seeing.
Probably my Aunt Rosie and my Uncle Jim, who are married. They're just good people when I was growing up, and have continued to be. And
I was about to say, still nice folks.
I think that I had Mr. Grubbs. I was like, I had a teacher in high school that I really looked up to. He was my criminology teacher.
Makes sense.
I had a biology teacher that was Virginia Durden. That was definitely an influence on me too. Sometimes, and you had a teacher too. It's kind of funny. Teachers can really make a difference in a person's life sometimes.
They definitely can make a difference. I remember in college, I had my copyright law teacher. I went to school for music business, and my copyright law teacher, I used to love her, and I cannot remember her name to save my life, but I liked her so much because she didn't, she didn't kind of coddle to us. She was a lawyer herself, and she taught us and gave us homework and exams the way she took them in law school. So it was a lot of long form essay. So you really had to know what you were talking about. But it made us get into study groups and really learn the material. And she was, and like you say, she was one of those people from the beginning. She seemed like your friend, but she also, you knew she had authority in that room. But she was a nice lady. But I think my two were probably, obvious or not so obvious, were probably my granddad and my pop.
I figured that's who you were going to say.
You would say that.
Yeah, my granddad was, and my pop were just good guys. Like you say, kind of salt of the earth, do anything for you if they can. Incredible work ethics and just a lot of how you treat people, how you treat the opposite sex, all that. I really learned from, watching how they interacted with their spouses and the family at large, and I really always and still do, look up to them. God rest both of them. So
out there in podcast land, I can promise you some of Rio's best stories come from him as a kid, staying at his grandparents' house.
Oh yeah, I got some amazing
There's
stories.
some great stories to the
And one,
podcast.
you know what? And one of these days, we're gonna have to do a show that's just completely just telling stories about
Memories of our grandparents.
Oh yes,
Instead of memories of our fathers,
Yeah,
memories
we
of our
memories of our
grandparents.
grandparents, yeah, because
there's some good stories there.
Oh yeah, I got a couple of really good ones about granddad, and I got a couple of really good ones about grandma too, on my mom's side. So yeah, it's some great memories in there. So anybody out there in podcast land, feel free. Think about who the two people were that influenced you. And if you feel so inclined, leave those down in the comment section because we'd love to know. And with that, we'll be right back. Hey out there in podcast land, we would not be doing our duty if we didn't acknowledge the sponsors of the Loft Party Podcast, the Majestic Restaurant and Jazz Club, and the Majestic's Pendergast Club. The Majestic carries on Kansas City's tradition of great food and jazz. Let them show you why they are the classic Kansas City steakhouse experience. 931 Broadway, just 3 blocks from the Kansas City Convention Center. J. Rieger & Company, a Kansas City distillery. Whether whiskey, gin, or vodka, neat or on the rocks, J. Rieger, Kansas City, sipping good since 1887. C&P Construction, Kansas City's premier wood framers. 50 years of quality framing and craftsmanship. Just email david.cnpservice@gmail.com and start building something new today. And our friend and frequent guest, Lane Boland. Thank you all for all that you do.